Hello there. Oh man, I'm getting kind of an echo. Are you guys getting an echo? Let me know if you're getting an echo. Brian. Yeah, I'm old and technical issues happen to me. That is the way it goes with Andrew Reed of Mossy Mushrooms. So, one day I may not be old, and then I will be young and beautiful again. How are you guys doing today? I am doing quite well, not wild. Though I am wild too, I guess. My ever-lovely co-host is not here yet. I forgot when I scheduled this for 3:30 that she was going to have to pick my daughter up from school. So, yeah, I got one back in school instead of homeschool. She wanted friends. Who wants friends? Okay, awesome. No echo. That is what we want. And my live chat over here has disappeared, so I'm just going to have to rely on the telephone here. Peaches. Thank you. What's going on, Eric? LFG. What is LFG? Long fungi gone. I don't know. It's probably something super simple that I should get. Well, guys, I have lots of things we want to talk about. Not in any particular order. The show back is just kind of our, hey, here's some updates, here's what's going on. We will have a coupon code later on in the episode, so we're going to start doing that every single week. People who watch with us are going to we're going to have a random time in the video, a discount code offering 20% more sometimes off of our entire selection on the website. So, unfortunately, I wasn't able to get the website changed over just yet to the new format, but it will be soon. That's just going to be a long sleepless night for Samantha and I, because we're going to press that button late at night, and then we're just going to sit there and bite our fingernails until the website works. Hopefully it's easy. It's just it's our first time ever changing this stuff over, so it means let's fork and go in a good way. Oh, absolutely. Then LFG. Then, my goodness, I really am old and not technical. All right, folks. Well, let's see. We're building a little bit of some people up. We got about 13 in here now, so we'll just kind of go on about it until we get a little bit more people in here, so we don't have to repeat too much. You can see incubation is behind us. We've reset up the studio. Check out this sign. That was given to me by one of my clients from New York, the Fun Guys Inc. So I haven't heard from them in a long time. Don't know what's going on with them. Hope they're okay. But they gave me that sign, and it's badass. I really like it. Pretty excited to have that in the studio on the startup. So with a catchphrase, keep spawning culture, y'all. And Samantha's rendition of our MCM monogram, which I think looks crazy. Let's see. What licenses are required to sell mushrooms to restaurants in Tennessee? None. Except a business license. You don't even need a business license, technically. Though a lot of restaurants will want you to. And most restaurants are going to want you to have some sort of general liability insurance. My first ones did not require it. But as I started getting bigger clients, like Ruby Tuesdays Corporation, things like that, they will want you to have general liability. In fact, they'll want you to sign up as a contractor for them for certain accounting things. So they'll just want to contract your business out to grow these mushrooms for them. So there's not really any licenses. Tennessee treats mushrooms as any other produce. So it's just produce. And most produce can be sold roadside, restaurants, direct to consumers, whatever. It's just fine. As long as you're not doing any processing. You know, you can do a single harvest cut, which we typically don't even do one. We're usually just a pluck and pull. With shiitake, it was a little different. We did have to cut. But we did, you know, just you single cut each mushroom off, even though you might cut dozens of times per block. You have federally, they treat mushrooms as produce. So again, on both levels, I'm just at I'm a produce vendor. So you can find that pretty easily. Just look up, food laws or whatnot. But yeah, as far as like Tennessee goes, Tennessee, thankfully, is our state seal is literally commerce and agriculture. And even though we've got a lot of people moving here right now, and we definitely, Tennessee is kind to its businesses. It's a very business-friendly state, and it's a very agriculture-friendly state. But don't move here. We're already full. We're not taking new clients. No, I'm just playing. It's also one of the most beautiful places in the world. But a lot of people who move here from like big cities or like California or New York, sometimes they love it. It depends on how much like you like outdoor stuff. But then people get here and they're like, oh, there's not as much to do. Knoxville, though, has it's got like an art museum, but it's not like it's got full of art museums. There's movie theaters and things like that, but and Knoxville's kind of blowing up. Johnson City's kind of blowing up where I live. It's kind of in between the two. It's still pretty rural, even though there's a bunch. But yeah, I really like the sign. It's LED. I would love to get a real neon sign, but I looked at that, and there's not very many neon makers anymore. And those who do, it's really, really expensive. So the LED, though, really captures the essence of the neon. And yeah, I really love it. So what I don't like is that I'm showing the goo on the other side of the wall there. But yeah, we've got thank you, I couldn't get a better answer. Awesome, absolutely, Mike. Yeah, Chattanooga is Chattanooga's pretty open too. There's 2 Angels Mushroom Farm down there, but I think that they've switched over to more and more garden stuff and plants, and they're doing some mushrooms, but not they're doing mushrooms in their farm. It's not like a mushroom farm, I think. And then you have Beyond the Veil is somewhere between Knoxville and Chattanooga, and I know that they've been selling in Chattanooga. That said, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, including me, mushroom farms selling to Knoxville now. Knoxville's only like 130,000 people. So Chattanooga, I think, is actually larger than Knoxville, a little bit more stretched out along the river there. But like, you guys have like one farm selling, like one actual mushroom farm selling there. Unless Possum Bottom's going down there too. They were hitting like Chattanooga, Nashville, Knoxville, etc. But yeah, Chattanooga's pretty open, and Chattanooga's pretty moneyed. I think the average income in Chattanooga is tens of thousands of dollars higher than Knoxville, but I could be wrong. But yeah, Chattanooga's a great place. One of the best outdoorsy areas I've ever been to. And other than the fact, if it wasn't the fact that Jefferson City, where I live, is so sparsely populated, and between 2 of the best fishing lakes that have ever existed, I might consider moving somewhere else. But right now I'm living in the land between the lakes in paradise. So finding mushrooms like crazy. Oh my gosh, the bioprospecting program is going off the hook with like us canoeing out into islands and kayaking and stuff. We barely got to do anything this year. I can't wait to get out there in the canoe in the wintertime. I've not ever been much of a person that's gone like canoeing and stuff during the winter, so I'm gonna have to figure out, how to dress and be ready for all that. But the oyster mushrooms through the wintertime, I bet, are going to be phenomenal out there on those islands. So, not to mention, the hunting is really nice on those islands in the wintertime. So, I've never been much of a hunter, but I might try my hand at deer hunting this year. We'll see. Hi, Andrew. Nice to finally catch you live. Learn a lot of lab techniques from your videos. Thank you very much. Aspiring my absolutely, Michael Allen. I appreciate it, man. It's always good to know that we're helpful and useful. Sometimes I feel like I'm just speaking out into the ether, and I'll tell you, there are times I get kind of down and depressed, thinking that I don't really matter. I'm sure we all feel that way. So sometimes there are times when we get kind of sad and depressed about like, oh my gosh, are we really making a difference? Is it really worth it? But it overall has been, even just financially, let alone reaching out to people. So. Vermac, I'm sorry. Love from South Africa. Well, love from East Tennessee, straight to South Africa. Thank you for joining us. I just finished bringing your... Oh, no. Why is that in the way? Binging your entire collection of live Q&A streams. Glad to see more content. I can't get enough. Oh my gosh. How much is even there? That is hours and hours and hours to binge. My goodness. And I feel like I ramble a lot too. Actually, so we had we've got another mentorship coming in soon, but we had a mentorship come in. This may have been last year or sometime. And the woman, she comes in. The husband introduces himself, and then the wife, he introduces her. And she shakes my hand, and she's like, "I hear your voice in my dreams." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" I look at her husband. I'm like, "How much do you listen to me around her, like just blaring constantly? You can't do that to your wife." I'm like, the poor woman hears me so much she can't even get peace in her sleep. Oh man! All right. Man, it's getting hot back here, actually. Is there a loud hum in the background? Well, Eric, will you let me know if I've got a bad hum in the background? I just remembered that I forgot to turn off that fan. It is keeping me cooler, so I'd rather not if I don't have to. But if it's a noise problem, we'll shut it off. I'm trying to remember my password to my chat. Yes! Oh, dang it. Yes, it's me. I'm signing in. Great. You haunt her. Yes, apparently I do. Okay. I now have access to the chat. Let's see. Testies. Testing. Testily. It works! Alright. I can now chat with you guys as Mossy Creek Mushrooms. That's great. You can hear the fan, but it's fine. Okay. It's a drone noise, but not disrupting the feed. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. Next time I'll try to tune it out. I've got an AI that I might be able to run the stream through that will just completely reduce the noise and get rid of it totally. Alright, let's see. What do we want to talk about first? Of course, we do want to do a Q&A. This is going to be mostly just interacting with you guys and Q&A. Yeah, you weren't the... I was talking to Bad Tentacles, but yeah, that works. Video is 10 seconds behind the chat. That's not great. I don't really have a way to fix that. Let's see. 10 seconds behind the chat. I don't refresh it, Brian, and see if that works for you, because there's not really much I can do, and it's showing that my stream seems to be showing me that I'm working quite fine here. My bit rate is the problem. Okay, now it's a good connection. Let's see how that goes. Let's see how that works for you. Let's see. Hey, thanks. Absolutely, Sport Muse. Appreciate it. Thanks for coming on. All right, Brian. I appreciate it. I mean, just try it and see if it works. If it doesn't, we'll try to figure it out next time. There's not a lot I can do at the moment. This studio is all pretty ad hoc. Though I really do like that having the incubation blocks behind me. That way you guys get to see a revolving door of stuff. Heck, you might even be able to see some of my contamination back there. Let's see. I picked a mostly good side. This block is giving me... There. That block's giving me some concerns. See, all the other ones are perfectly white. Excuse me. My my playback? Or are you talking? Oh, you're talking to him. Yeah. See if that'll help reset it. Okay. That block is concerning to me, in part because it's got those strong border lines, and so that makes me think that it's probably contaminated in that one. What I might do is fruit all the other blocks, and then let that one sit for a while, and when that one's done sitting, it will go to the fruiting room if it fully grows back in. I have blocks do that a lot of times, so we'll take a lot of times contaminated blocks. As long as they're not totally contaminated, as long as I can see absolute mycelium in there, and I do see mycelium absolutely growing in there just fine. So you set it aside, you let it overgrow, let the bacteria have its day, let the mold have its day, and then your mycelium, which what we're working with, mycelium is a, it has to gain traction. It's a slow build up, fast growth. Excuse me. I don't know what got me going there. But, and then after that, a lot of times those contaminated blocks will fruit even better than before. So, the delay is an intentional thing from your YouTube, at least on Twitch, that's true. Well, yeah, but not, to have a delay, absolutely, but not a delay. The voice should be lined up with the video. They should both be delayed by 10 seconds, I think is what mine is set to right now. Thank you, Steven. Absolutely. Good to see you, too. Let's see. QQQ. I'm experimenting with agar, and it seems some dextrose doesn't seem to allow mycelium to grow. Is that a real possibility with some sugar sources? Well, it could be your percentage. Dextrose is, to me, I think of dextrose as kind of empty calories. That's why I used a lot of malt. I do use dextrose because I do want calories, but I use malt. There's a set of studies that were done back in the 60s. Lloyd Lung, I can't remember how you say it. But he did a bunch of studies, and he tried different sugar sources, and he found that what he was trying to do was produce psilocybin and see what sugars promoted psilocybin growth in like a submerged culture, or maybe even solid state culture. But what he did find was that different sugars caused different things. You did get different amounts of psilocybin using certain sugars, but what he really found was that like there's one sugar that's better than malt, and maybe galactose. I can't remember now, but it's really just, it's a sugar that's hard to get and not really cheap and whatsoever. But malt was the second best sugar, and the only one, the best sugar of all the ones that are cheap and readily available for mycelial production. So I use at least 1/5 of all of my sugar content is malt, and it's not light malt, it's dark malt, which is why my LCs tend to be dark, my plates tend to be a little bit darker, or if I do no food coloring in them, they're a yellowed, definitely an amber color. It's kind of one of the reasons why we use amber highlights now. We're starting to move further and further to amber, black and white and amber highlights for our pretty, our aesthetics. So, but that's the real big thing with the sugar sources. You don't want to go above 4%. 4% I think starts to become toxic. Hey, she's here. Blam. Blam. She's really excited. Welcome back, lady. Can you do me a favor? Speak into that microphone.
Speaking into this microphone.
Say testing, testing.
I apologize.
Say testing, testing.
Testing, testing.
Now say testing, testes, testily, testing. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
She's not going to say it.
I apologize for my tardiness.
All right. Is there an echo now that I have two mics going, guys? Let me know. I can also turn her down. Ooh, look at that. I can... Me. Zoop. Nope. No, that's worse. Okay. Would you guys believe I used to sound engineer for our church growing up? And now I can't seem to sound design anything for anything. All right. Eric said, Sam! The Dream Team, 5x5. She's good to go. No echo yet. Excellent. Thank you. I've got MCM lion's vein on grain, but having a hard time seeing the mycelium. What are some good indicators that my grain spawn is healthy and fully myceliated? Well, it will thicken. So what you see with lion's vein a lot of times is that it will come in really spiderweb thin, and it will, cut like almost fully grow through the bag, so it'll fully colonize, and then it thickens up into white. So usually if it's gone and it's white, it is now later than you really want it to be. I'm gonna check this camera too. Your individual camera is right there, so look at it real quick. You see, right here, you can look and see how you look. Oh my gosh, you are white. I might need to change my white balance. Samantha is Casper style glowing, and then unless she's lobster red. Okay, so I can change that. I can fix this. I can fix this, but I can't fix it now.
I try.
You don't need to. You're fine. I like pale. Anyways, that's how lion's mane normally works. But you should see mycelium really quickly. So it should colonize really quickly. If you're seeing no growth whatsoever and it's been days, that's a problem. You might have gotten it when it was hot or something and needed a replacement or something. You're always welcome to send me an email. I am slow on emails. I know, guys. I'm like 2 or 3 days behind right now, business-wise.
We are swamped on emails, to be honest.
We are swamped on emails. That's for sure. So it ends up being difficult to handle all this ourselves. So we are going to be changing things up on the website. Actually, right now is a good chance for us to take a really quick break and look at a sponsor. And what I'll do is I gotta get Samantha to do something for me. So we'll run the sponsor real quick. Be right back. Alright, that was quick and easy and simple. She disappeared. Alright, so Lee wants to know, testing fermenting sawdust currently instead of sterilizing. Any advice in regards to that process? The only reason is more cost effective. I don't know, man. I don't want to burst your bubble or anything like that. But the fermentation never really did work well for me. Like the only thing I've ever seen it really work on is really fast growing oysters and with straw submerged fermentation. With like sawdust, even the lime pasteurization I've never saw really take off. It really needs I don't know. You could always try it. Salt water would probably be the best way to go. If you could somehow do a saltwater fermentation. I have done that, and that worked really well. And I've done saltwater hydrated bags with like reef salt. I actually went to the ocean one year just for a vacation, and I just brought back a few gallons of seawater and then just put them in bags and tried it. And that actually worked out pretty well because the salt, most terrestrial bacteria and aquatic bacteria can't live very well in the salt environment. It doesn't really protect against mold very well, but there goes that. It just never worked well for me. I know the cost-effective thing, like, people will always want to do it cheaper, but I have not found anything nearly as effective as heat, steam pasteurization, and or sterilization. I wish I could. I wish there was something, but the best way to go is pressure vessels, because you can do shorter runs, and you can get things good and sterile, and you can do multiple runs a day a lot of times because the runs are shorter. So, can using a higher spawn ratio with only pasteurized sawdust give comparable results to Master's Mix supplemented blocks? Yes, you can use a higher spawn rate to do two things. One is to raise your supplementation rate, and the second is to speed up colonization. So you can absolutely. That's what we used to do with straw back in the day. Was that we would do the straw and then just really heavily inoculate it with grain, and that's where we started using whole oats, and the higher protein thing mattered a little bit more. Now we use oat hulls in our substrate at a 35%. Which bring 35% supplementation rate on the oat hulls, which comes out to something like what is it? Something like 4%. I think it's something like 4% nitrogen. If I remember correctly, the soy hulls are something like 9%. So when you do a 50-50 mix, it's 4%, and then crap, I'm gonna have to sit down and do math to look at that stuff again. So maybe we'll do an episode where we go over supplementation ratios. I've got a couple of experiments I want to run, so maybe in about a month or so we'll see how that goes. A buddy of mine that runs a subreddit called Experimyco. Wow. That runs Experimyco. Came up with a supplementation source that he was just doing for kicks and giggles. And then I was like, when I started running the numbers, I was like, wow, this is way more nitrogen per dollar than any other source I have found. And it may be that you might be able to use a tiny little handful and then up your sawdust usage. And my calculations were something like, to get the same amount of nitrogen, you were going to save 25 cents per bag on material cost. And your supplement would be lowered by, and your supplementation ratio would be like tiny. I don't want to go into it more than that. We'll go into it later. Like I said, we'll do an episode on it. Beet pulp pellets are good. Brian just said something about that. Let's see. Awesome. You already went through that school fees. Thanks. I'd love to see that. What's your take on pine pellets in regards to species like other hardwood pellets or by the side? Pine pellets are great. I don't think that there's been much of a problem with pine pellets at all. In fact, if you saw my cactus hat video, you might see that he runs everything on pine. Stuff's cheaper for me. I hear speaking. Samantha, do you hear speaking? I don't know. I heard an echo just then, but anyways, pine pellets. He runs everything on them. They're cheaper, and in Florida, they're a lot easier to get all year long because they're a bedding, animal bedding, rather than a fuel source. Here, they're super cheap. It's cheaper for me to get hardwood, so I run with hardwood. But from my understanding, he's not run everything on pine, but everything he has run on pine has worked. So oysters and hericium definitely. Hericium worked, but hericium seems to prefer pine a lot of times. So, is it possible to get deformed mushroom if using too much spawn? Because this was the only difference in that run. Yes, too much nitrogen can cause these. We call them mutants. I don't think that they're technically mutants. I think if you cloned those and then gave them an appropriate amount of nitrogen, that it would not carry over. So it's not a truly mutagenic at the genetic level. It's just it's just they become deformed. Deform's a good word for it. They become kind of squat and ugly.
We've definitely had instances. We've definitely had instances where we'd have a mushroom growing on top of a mushroom. We have pictures of that.
Mushrooms on top of mushrooms on top of mushrooms kind of thing. Yeah, Andreas. Somebody was saying that it was the fan, that it wasn't a big problem. Hey, Samantha, will you go cut that fan?
Cut the fan?
Yeah, please. So people were saying they didn't mind it earlier, but we'll go ahead and cut it. It is definitely a white noise. If you were working in your lab while listening to me, you wouldn't even notice it. I'm just playing. There we go. That's gonna. Wow, that's a lot better just on my ears. It's got to be better on your alls.
Oh, I can hear so much better now.
I can too. Wow. Pine supplement of soy. Yeah, and bran can work. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff that can work. So I definitely want to do an episode on this where I show you guys a bunch of stuff I use. But if you open up Growing Gourmet and Medicinal Mushrooms by Paul Stamets, the Black Book, you can get that in PDF form, so you can get that even in South Africa. He has tables just full of agricultural nutrition information and, like rice bran and wheat bran and sugar bagasse and I think cod liver oil and just like all kinds of stuff. So, I mean, there's a wide range of things you can grow on. So we're going to trial some stuff. I think there's even algae and kelp sources in there. So, that's kind of cool. I've always wanted to grow spirulina, like in 5-gallon buckets. or in ponds, and then use that, like, get it to where I get a certain amount of protein per, like, protein-bound nitrogen per milliliter of water, and then bail that out and use, or pump that up to Thor, and then use that spirulina water to hydrate my pellets. And this would add some salt, which would help buffer against bacteria, and 2, would hydrate and make algae something that you could just produce on the back porch because it's pulling nitrogen out of the air. So that's something I've always wanted to try. And because spirulina, it grows so quick, as long as you've got the sunlight and the heat for it, and the tanks, the water space for it, you could probably literally just be growing it and then pumping it up to a surge tank, and then dropping that down to Thor, and building your pressure by the drop. So there's a lot of cool stuff to work with. Speaking of Thor and Man of War and all that kind of stuff, they said that I could say that there is a partial release, especially for people on our Discord. I think Seth just made the announcement to everybody. He asked me permission today to at everyone on the Discord to let them know about the bag shaker. He's given everybody in the Discord, I think, a chance to at it first. But Man of War is now producing a fairly affordable bag shaker, and it's handling our 12-pound bags just fine. I'm about to try 17-pound bags on it. Ben was a little scared when he heard that. But I told him, he gave me he gave these to me to test. I'm going to stress test them. And these are orbital shakers, so it is so cool. These things, like, he had some prototype shakers that were like a vibration shaker. Those never did pan out very well.
No, I was very, I basically handed it back and said no.
Yeah.
Not going to cut it.
Not going to cut it. It was loud and noisy, and some of them were good, and some of them weren't. And it wasn't an issue that he could really handle because it was the actual part that he was purchasing. And, like I don't even remember what it was. It was something like 50% of them were not good enough or something like that. It was a ridiculous, like, enough that he's like, I can't sell this product like this. So they went to an orbital shaker, which handles a lot of weight, and they're actually manufacturing in the house now.
Yes.
And that thing has kicked some booty. So
I really like it.
Well,
Not gonna lie, I am very impressed. I will say that you might want your own table dedicated to it specifically, especially if you have a hanging sealer like ours, because the entire table will slightly
the whole table kind of, yeah. And when you get 2 of them going, oh my gosh, it's which if you can get one of them to where one's orbiting like this and the other one is orbiting, so like when this one's coming back, this one's going that way, then it kind of balances out. But if they both start going at the same time, oh man, that's rough. But like every time I see it and I walk in and people are using it, I just want a hula hoop. Like every time, it's kind of funny.
And we've given slight feedbacks here and there, and every time, Ben has taken it and made the slight adjustment and then returned it again, and we've switched out pan sizes and seconds of rotation, and we've really kind of found the sweet spot on everything. And there's multiple farms that have tested this, and so you have a lot of feedback from people who are growing. And
was it Mike Crow's been testing it?
Yeah.
Josiah of ET Fungi.
Yes.
So
there's feedback from multiple farms who have experience, and so it's pretty awesome. I've been really enjoying it.
Let's see. You have that for me yet?
How long do you want this to last?
For 1 week.
Okay. And is the capital B fine?
Yes, capital B works.
Okay. Or do you want to make me? Or do you want me to make it all capital letters?
Do it all caps.
Okay.
And I'll see. I don't know that I can. I may have you over there. Is my sketchbook over there on the toolbox.
Okay.
And in my ditty bag, my Marine Corps bag, is my markers. If you want to just write that in big and bold where you can hold it up. I don't have a way for it to flash up on the screen. You could have walked behind me. Let's see. I've had a lot of success with pasteurized substrates with oysters. Used straw pellet. Used straw pellet, and West Coast hardwood pellets. These are light hardwood species. The East Coast has hardwood like oak. Yeah, I mean, absolutely, Nathan. What's most of the mushrooms that we're growing are opportunistic. I do think that eventually we'll have to narrow in for certain species that are harder to grow. But right now, most of us in the United States are working on techniques for easy to grow wood saprophytes, right? With saprophyte, it just means it eats decomposing matter. So, what are you doing showing? What is that? Let me see that. Oh, that was for a mentorship. We were mapping out somebody's. So I have ADHD really bad, guys. And what I found is that in my note taking, yeah, I like to write my notes visually. So, that's weird. That's my phone, not your all's. So, just so you guys know.
Goodness, Andrew.
What?
This is impressive. Okay.
Well, like I said, the Terror from Turtletown. That's our Mastier call out right there. Go read The Terror of Turtletown by Mastier. That's what that notification was. Okay, so ADHD. I like to write my notes visually, and I like them to be colorful because it keeps my attention longer. So I have markers in a sketchbook, and Eric said show it again, but I don't know what you're showing, and that's my private notes. In fact, there are designs in there for things that I don't want shown. So I don't mind how you guys looking at my bad drawing ability or anything like that, but I definitely don't want you guys seeing some of my experimental thoughts or my thoughts on certain experimental matters. But going back to it, most of the mushrooms that we are growing are saprophytes. They're wood saprophytes in particular. These are white rot fungi. They are lignin disassembler specialists. Lignin comes in a lot of forms, and the cellulose, hemocellulose is carbohydrates and starches and things that they want that are easier to eat are typically eaten up by other things faster unless they're bound in lignin. But if you give these mushrooms some new substrate, they can learn a lot of times how to eat it. It's not learning, I guess, the way that we can adapt to it. That's what I'm trying to say. They can adapt to it. It's not learning in the traditional, our thought pattern kind of way. But you can use a lot, you can use a lot of carbon sources. You can use a lot of nitrogen sources. Maybe that stuff won't like it at first, but there are ways to train. All right, so she's showing it now. So I guess we're making the announcement now. Hey guys, back 20. That is, we're back, and you get 20% off our website. So that's our coupon code, back 20. It is good for 1 week till the next show. The next show, we will have a different code at a randomized time, just to keep you guys watching if you want those discounts. So, I mean, you can always go back and watch the recording, whatever. But you gotta give me that view to get that code.
Just as a sweet thank you for.
Absolutely, and we'll be doing giveaways too. We'll start doing almost a weekly giveaway. We don't have one today because I don't have the infrastructure in place. Actually, we could use that code, couldn't we? Because we can track what orders use the code. If you purchase something using that code, one of you using that code we'll pick a random person using the code, but you will get some extras thrown into your order, and we will announce who won unless they specifically don't want us to say their name. But so there's giveaway number 1. This one is associated with back 20. So any news on the spawn trials with 50% sawdust, 50% oats? Can you recommend it for all species? Yes, Andres. Everything that I am using is kicking booty with that mix. We have switched over. That is our house mix. It is no longer an experiment. We are running that for every wood-loving species that we can.
I will say that in the initial trials, the spawn took a little longer to incubate for us.
Yep.
But when it came to inoculating with it, we actually reduced our incubation time.
Yep.
In pre-planting by like half almost, wasn't it?
Well, it depends on the species.
Like 4 days.
It was like 4 days on certain. Like King Blue, we're now getting King Blue blocks we're using 1 5-pound block to inoculate 20, so we are inoculating at a pretty high rate. But with the sawdust mixture, we're getting blocks growing in like 7 days.
It's been impressive. I've
in
noticed.
fact, it's kind of messed up my grow room schedule.
Oh, and that's what I was gonna say. Is that it's been it's been a little. We've had to adjust slightly with the quickness of it all, and then we've also actually had things fruiting beforehand. That I've had to remake it just very quickly, so
Yep.
it's still getting the timing down.
Lee, you are in South Africa. I have shipped to South Africa. You can't do it through the website. You have to email me, and then I can ship cultures to you. I will say that for you and getting through customs is a little harder than like me shipping to Europe or something like that. But we ship to slant in slant form now. It is a lot more expensive to get slants, I know, but it is the safest way to ship internationally. So we have the ability to ship to you. I will still give you the back 20% discount. You just got to email me and let me know. Probably, yeah. Just email me and let me know. We'll get you the discount. We'll make sure that you can. You are going to have to pay for international shipping, but at least that 20% off will knock quite a few dollars off your order, regardless.
Yeah.
So, all right, that's probably good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
She's got better handwriting. That's why I wanted her to do it. And she was making the code for us real quick because we were supposed to do that last night, and we did not because I forgot. Samantha fixed my favorite meal last night, and after that, I forgot everything. So, I wish you could get a Thor this side. Massive labor. Oh yeah. So Lee, they've shipped to Australia and stuff. They ship international. They have special plastic pallets that they do for international shipments. I don't know what the shipping to South Africa is. It'd probably have to be freight on board, and it would probably be expensive. I know you guys are having some logistical problems down there, and I know that there were a lot of things going on with farmers in South Africa, which has been a cause that's been pretty near and dear to my heart, but I haven't heard much about it lately, so I don't know what's going on or what your all's infrastructure is like. Last I heard, you guys were having blackouts and stuff, or at least rolling brownouts, but...
Well, and another thing too was the collapsibility of Thor to fit a certain square footage, I believe. Mm-hmm. And they've fixed that. They've made it to where it now collapses in on itself, or it could be standing and even.
Yeah, it could be a standing height, sitting height. They have volumetric now. They have timer based. They have the Thor is becoming just absolutely incredible. I mean, we have one to do our grain spawn bagging and one to do our production blocks on. Each one set up just. And I think Mike Crow's got 4 now, so I think at least what I've heard through the grapevine. That is all hearsay. But yeah, so Queen Sam critiqued and approved. That's damn right.
And I am very picky, like
yeah, she is
ridiculously picky.
But I'm not. But I've learned to trust Samantha's pickiness, and that's cool because it allows me to be even lazier. You know, I'm already lazy, which is why I'm already not picky. And then she is so much more diligent than me that I still get to step back and I get to reap the benefits of her, we'll call anal retentiveness. Her OCD. Her autism.
Wow.
I don't know. She's normally fiery and feisty and fighting back.
You changed everything.
I did change everything. She's everything like.
Put
she
it back.
literally came in and was like, "It's different. I don't like it." And I'm like, "You're gonna like it. It's gonna be better." And she's like, "Yeah, but I don't like it today."
I need to warm up to it first.
Oh,
so I'm gonna be shy in the meantime. I'm sorry, everybody.
It works for me. Hey, real quick, I just want to throw in another little sponsorship here. House of Hydro has been treating us really, really well lately, especially as of late. We're loving the fog. We're back to growing mushrooms full bore in our grow room for the fresh mushroom market. I know I told you guys back we were doing dry market, but I just got some really good deals to be made in the fresh mushroom market, so we just went right back to that. and we're slowing down on our dried mushroom market, but like we're getting to sell specialty stuff now, so as not to compete with most of our friends that are selling mushrooms up in Knoxville. But with that comes the added need in the grow room, and if you use code Mossy, you get like $50 worth of free replacement discs with your order, and I don't remember what else, but House Hydro has been treating us really, really good. So code Mossy, that's a good one to use. It'll save you a fair, like I said, like $50 right off the bat. Plus, I think it technically knocks $1 off the order. But you just put it in the notes section. Those guys have been really good to us. So, anyways, are you currently growing maitake? If so, what tips do you have for fruiting them? I've only been able to find a small amount of helpful info so far from TR Davis. Yeah, TR's got some good videos on it. Right now, I would say he's about the only person that's really publishing maitake information. But I will tell you, most of these right here are maitake. They're the Albright Grove. So from our October trip last year, we went to the Albright Grove and did bioprospecting. This is a Albright Grove maitake that we're experimenting with. And you can see it's starting to produce the lumps. I don't have a lot of experience with maitake. We've grown it a couple of times. The easiest way I've found is just to let it grow in the bag, and we just don't sell it as maitake. You sell it as antler velvet mushrooms, but it's just an in vitro grown maitake. I hear little feet above us, don't you? Somebody is walking on the ceiling. And going, Dad. Ben must have his kids here. But TR is, as far as I know, at the forefront of releasing information on maitake. I mean, he's probably not the best maitake grower out there, because there's people like Shogun and some of the other larger farms that are mass bottle producing. But TR, as far as I know, is one of the few people doing the larger bag production and actually publicly sharing the information. So, excuse me. So yeah, that's really cool. And I've had Jordan Gent of, is Jordan of Texas Fungus? I can't remember. I think Jordan Gent's Texas Fungus. Or was that Adam Cohen? Or no, they were partners. I don't know.
Yes.
I have been out of that circle for a little while, so I don't actually know a lot of those guys, like their up-to-date information. But they're Jordan Gent, I think TR are the ones that have really been pushing the edge of the small to medium-sized farm growing maitake. Maitake is a great one. When I grow it, I get about 2.5 pounds of fruit off of it. It just takes a really long time in incubation for me. TR was talking about certain strains that'll like 6 to 9 weeks is whenever it starts being ready to be put in the grow room. I've not found that to be true. I've not found anything that is less than 9 weeks. Even the strains that he was talking about, I don't know if that's a temperature thing, if that's a substrate thing, if that's a nutrition thing. Like, who knows? I don't know what I'm doing differently. So, but my maitake definitely takes longer than what he was saying his does. However, it does produce really well, and you get about, like, it produces about the same weight as oysters, and you get, like, I can get $16 a pound for it all day long to restaurants. That's double my $8 a pound. So it's not even twice as profitable, because my fixed costs are already built into the $8 a pound for oysters. So if you add another $8 to that, that's pure profit. That's not, that's not twice as profitable. That's more than twice as profitable. You just got to have more space to incubate it. And we do a lot of experimentation. So like right now, we've got porcelain mushrooms. Enoki is about to be our main crop. And that'll be at least for 3 seasons out of the year, that'll be our main crop. And then we do a lot of testing of the wild strains, of course. So there's just a lot of stuff associated with all that. I've read everything I can get my hands on as far as maitake goes, but you want to give him a call and see what's going on? This is my dad's phone.
Yeah.
But yeah, so That's the best I know about maitake. If you just let it grow like I do reishi a lot of times, where I get the antlers, you'll get antler form maitake, and I sold that as antler velvet mushrooms, and I got $160 a 10-pound case. That's $16 a pound right there. So, but I mean, we're doing porcelains, enoki. Of course, we're doing a smattering of oysters, especially the wild stuff that we've been collecting and playing with. We always do a certain amount of king blue just for weight, because king blue is the workhorse of most farms most of the farms that I consult with these days. And what else? What's the other one? I've been trying to grow the milky mushroom. I haven't had a lot of luck with that, even in the heat. So, and I had that culture imported from India, so I'm not sure if it's just literally not getting hot enough, or if I need case it better or what. So we'll see. Our customs are a joke, to be polite, but yeah, I'll be in contact via email. Yeah, Lee, just contact me. We'll get you through customs. Even if we had to ship it twice or something like that, we'll figure it out. Detail-oriented expertise. I love this. The setup is the best. No camera flopping. You don't like the camera flopping or flipping? Like when I flip, flop, flip, flop. You like this, just the two of us? I do feel like it seems like a little more stable. Is there a trick to getting a lid to fit onto a 23-quart pressure cooker? I have two older ones, and the lids do not fit. Vaseline a lot of times helps, though they say not to put that on the gaskets a lot of times. I've Vaselined my gaskets for a long time, and that made them fit a lot easier, but hopefully you check for damage. If your stuff's warped, you need to buy new ones. They can get warped if they run dry. And yeah, laziness can be a virtue. Absolutely. It just kind of depends on how you use that laziness. If you're smart and you are lazy but willing to put in the work to improve things so that you can be lazy, that's very different than just being lazy and not putting in any work to ever do anything. Because then you actually end up working more, which is crazy to me. But I'm not really a fan of the flip-flop. Any tips for growing king trumpets? Somehow my yields are quite low compared to normal oysters. Well, yeah, that's crazy, because you ought to have better yields. Part of that's going to be genetics, and then part of that's going to be that king oysters need cooler temperatures, and they are pretty hungry. So, I mean, I just use the same mix I do on everything, but they're pretty little hungry little hippos. So I mean, yeah, my strain, like the strain of king that I've got that I sell, is like a giant king. It basically wants to produce like one big king, or a cluster of much larger kings. I mean, I've had them to where the cap will be bigger than my hand, and the mushroom is bigger than, like, literally I've got pictures of a king oyster like this next to my arm, and it's bigger around than my arm. And it's just one mushroom off a block, and they'll want to fall off the block and stuff. That's not the best if you're like, your chefs want like the small bottle kings. My culture is not for you. I do have the small bottle king one that I'm going to start offering when we open the Mycologium, but the giant king is what I've got right now. One moment. There we go. We'll see if that helps take care of the tickle in my throat. But yeah, that's really the big thing. I also just side fruit mine. A lot of people try to top fruit theirs, or they treat their kings differently. I don't treat mine any differently than I do my oysters. I try to make sure that I keep it the same as any other oyster out there. It certainly makes things a lot easier if you can just treat it the same, and then it also makes it to where it's able to produce a larger cluster. So I don't get just a single big mushroom like I do if I just do like a small, like a smaller hole. I don't like top fruiting things most of the time. Most of the mushrooms that we see in nature try to side fruit more than they try to top fruit, and they can top fruit. But yeah, side fruiting, in my opinion, is the superior way if you want better quality mushrooms. But that is really just a matter of preference. It's not something. It is my opinion. It is not an objective fact. All right, guys. I'm gonna go really quick for just a moment and drink a little bit more water. But here, let's check out another quick little Dr. Solarian's LC premix, huh?
Introducing the future of mycology, Dr. Solurian's Elixir of Mycelial Mastery. This isn't your average culture mix, it's a revolution in a packet, crafted for the dedicated cultivator seeking unparalleled growth. Experience the visual alchemy of this masterful brew. As you mix 10 grams with 500 milliliters of water, watch the solution transform into a rich, amber spectacle, the hallmark of a nutrient-dense sanctuary for your burgeoning mycelium. This is where vibrant color meets vibrant life, setting our elixir apart from the ordinary clear liquid cultures. Prepare to be captivated. Mix 10 grams of Dr. Solurian's elixir with 500 milliliters of water, add a stir bar for thorough integration, and sterilize the blend at 15 psi for 45 minutes. Once cooled, introduce your favorite culture into this perfectly prepared, nutrient-rich environment. Watch in awe as the elixir works its magic, unveiling a mycelial masterpiece before your eyes. Choose Dr. Solurian's Elixir of Mycelial Mastery for a mycological adventure that's as visually enchanting as it is potent.
All right, y'all. Dr. Solarian's. It's the stuff. It's better than bad. It's good. Again, that mix, we kind of worked on it. Dr. Solarian's are my little AI alter ego. He's a frogman scientist, you know, the best kind. And plus the Solarian period's kind of my favorite period, where Prototexites, the giant tree tall mushrooms, reign supreme. So, anyways, that mix of sugars is actually specifically formulated based off Dr. Lloyd Lung's work on what sugars produce the most and the most vigorous mycelium in a liquid fermentation format. So it does come out to an amber color, so if you like ultra clear LCs, this will not be for you, but it will absolutely produce the crap out of some mycelium. So yeah, it makes me want to drink it too, except at less than 4% sugars. It's not very sweet. I've drank LC before. In fact, I have tried drinking liquid culture. Just, you know, squirt, see what happens. I tested it first, make sure there's no bacteria or anything. Don't do that. That's awful. It's terrible. The mycelium sticks to your back of your throat, and no amount of hot or cold liquid will get it off. It's the worst. So, excuse me. Yeah, I had a chest cold last week, and I'm still getting over it. So I've got a little bit of a tickle in my throat still. So, all right. So, in regards to the biosectoring, excuse my spelling, here is a newly discovered hericium. Would love bioprospecting. Get that side, and obviously the African reishi. I would love that if I could get it. I mean, it's so cool that I've got Mongolian genetics now, and I've got genetics from Austria and Australia, and where I don't have anything from Africa though. Not the entire continent. And I think Africa is probably rich in mushroom species, both tree and grassland ecosystem. I mean, they're probably all kinds of stuff. So I think, yeah, it's a great thing. The we can get that through my customs pretty easily. So if you can send that to me, there's a couple of different ways that we can do it. A couple little tricks of the trade if we end up having a hard time with it, but yeah, I mean we can do a trade for trade as well. So if you just mention in that, then I can put 2 or 3 cultures in there for the trade, and then whatever you order, you know, you'll just pay for that. So, but I absolutely trade. We are going to start doing a mycologium segment to every single week. I just don't have that built out yet, but we've got a lot of strains that we're testing, so I would like to do like a strain of the week. show you guys what we're testing in the grow room. I just got a lot of cool stuff coming up. I'm really excited about starting the show back up. I wanted to do more video work, but I'm starting to realize that this is more documenting. I can document my week. I can show this to you. We can have an interactive thing, which I prefer. And then to the videos, I don't know. The videos are just such a push that I'm already so tired from all the work I'm doing, or really spent or burnt out, maybe even is the word for it, that producing a show is just too much. Producing a edited show where I have to do every step. I have to edit everything. I have to film everything. I have to not only do the work, but then take all the extra steps in building that out. That's just been a little bit of a harder time. Whereas I can film that stuff still, cut out some segments, and then post them out here in an interactive format. I like it a lot more. So that's what we're going to do. Andreas, I absolutely ship to Germany. Again, that's an international shipment. We have to do that either via email or phone. So if you just send me an email, I can get you an invoice sent via PayPal. You can pay that with a credit card, a bank transfer, PayPal account, whatever. And then we'll get it through your customs. There'll be an international shipping fee associated with it, but we do ship with phytosanitary certificates. So we have that. That helps get things through customs a lot easier, because where we test things in our lab, we make sure it's clean and we make sure that you have what you need to get it through. We don't normally have a problem. Absolutely. Thank you, Mushroom Mesa. I like it too. I just incorporated it into the farm. We're also going to have, thankfully I can do it in here in incubation much easier now. Like, we've got a lot of blocks incubating typically, and it's hard to have been back here because of how much CO2 was there. But now I have an HRV, so I'm constantly getting fresh air run through here, and then the HRV is recovering my air conditioning cost, at least some of it. So that is super helpful, which Man of War may or may not be working on an HRV. We'll see. A mass-marketed HRV. It's like, oh my gosh, the stuff that's coming through Man of War right now. I'm happy to be doing some of the work I'm doing. This bioprospecting is starting to be, it's really more cutting edge than I thought. I really did not realize how little genetic diversity we've got cataloged. And just in my library right now, we've got a huge amount of diversity cataloged. And that's not even counting people like William Padilla Brown, who has got a mycologium that they've been working with or building out. And then people out of the Ohio Mushroom DNA Lab, I think they're collecting quite a bit. There's other people that are doing some bioprospecting. We're starting to see a lot of people who are wanting to bioprospect but not necessarily run the libraries. I wanted to be a bioprospector. That's part of why I got into this. But I'm starting to get so many donations, and I don't even have the page built out or the mycologium advertised. But we're getting people donating and trading for strains, and it is killer. I'm seeing that that's really an effective way to go, is to recruit your all's help. So y'all, you're doing great. Thank you so much for sending in all these samples. I love it. I'm happy to trade for it to make sure that you guys get something out of it. And I don't know of anybody else that's doing that. So it's just so cool to see the cool machinery that's coming out now that Ben's got time to sit and think. His business has now gotten to the point where he can employ people so that he can think. And people don't really realize that, how much of creating new stuff is just sitting there thinking, running through computations in your head. But he's coming out with some magical stuff. And then I get jealous, even though I'm doing some super cool stuff, of the work that they're doing over there. So, it'd be what it be. We're always jealous of other people, right? Grass greener and all that. Can you explain what you'll be doing with the mycologium segment? Yeah, so as far as what we're going to be doing with the mycologium segment, it'll literally be tips and tricks for how to bioprospect, stuff for maintaining a library. We're obviously going to tout our own program and our cultures that we have for sale, available for trade and for sale. We're going to, every week, I'm going to be trying to test a new strain for the mycologium. Some weeks I might do two or three, and I'll just have to record those and then show those segments. But we're going to try to show a strain from the Mycologium. Hey, this week we tried the Mongolian Hericium, and here it is in the grow room, and now you can purchase, that kind of thing. Yeah, it's a lot. It's pretty cool. Everything cool?
Everything's cool.
All right. Now, that's what we're doing with the Mycologium segment. As far as you too, you get hiccups. I'm getting hiccups. I'm doing a lot for me trying to create a Sunday podcast and breed cubes while learning as I go. So you're an inspiration. Keep it up, Andrew. Thank you, Michael Allen. I appreciate that. This is a lot of work. This is actually a lot more work than it seems. I think making videos is more work than the podcast setup, though. So I'm actually really excited to be back at this. I just could not get... I was wanting to produce a video a week. And that was cool back in 2017, 2019, when I was only working 3 days a week on the farm.
Well, we didn't have as much demand. We also had a part-time crew.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We had a part-time crew.
That alleviated your time.
Yeah. I don't have a 3-day work week anymore where I can spend 2 days alone making videos.
A 7-day work week.
It's pretty much a 7-day work week now because I've taken on so much, which is actually what we're doing. We're retracting. We're ending a lot of stuff. So sad to say that we're ending the mentorship program at the end of the year. So if anyone wants to get a mentorship in, they need to get it in before the end of the year because that takes so much time, and I have built a wonderful amount of mentees that are out there, some of whom are actually mentoring people themselves now. I don't know if Dueling is doing it still, but I mean he was getting into consulting and things like that, and I've seen other people that I've taught getting into consulting and mentoring. And honestly, at first I was kind of like, I taught them, they should send people my way. And then I started really thinking about it, and I was like, you know what? No, they should absolutely expand their business into that way because they're now at that point that I was at, where they can teach the beginners. So I have little grandbabies and great-grandbabies as far as mentees go now. But it actually it's a way to free up my time.
Yeah.
I can still do consults. I can still bring people in for a day or two doing like intense lab work sessions and things like that. So I'm still going to do consulting. But as far as the mentorship program goes, where people come and spend a week with me, it's just too much on top of my work week. I find myself talking to these people throughout the day, and then in the afternoon and evening, catching up on my work. So I still am going to do it for the rest of the year for anyone who wants. But then we're going to be shutting that program down and focusing more. Our 3 things are the Mycologium, the mushrooms, and the podcast. The fresh mushroom farm and the podcast. So that's going to be our 3 things business-wise that we work on for like pretty much the next year. And that's just because I got to simplify my life. So, and this podcast makes that a lot easier. This is really more of a show than a podcast, I think. I think so. I don't really know. I don't know.
It can be whatever you want it to be.
It can be whatever you want to be. It's a podcast show. It's a showing podcast. But, yeah, as far as that goes, that's what we're going to be doing. And then, Michael, Alan, I appreciate the kind thoughts and the words, man, because it is nice to know that people are enjoying what we're doing. It's nice to have that kind of feedback and everything. So, and yeah. Shout out your podcast in the chat whenever you get it going one day. Shout it out. I love seeing what people are doing, breeding in the cube world. There's so many phenotypes that you're seeing now. I started trying to breed mushrooms a while back, and I've actually had to put the breeding mushrooms mostly on hold while I'm working through all these wild strains. And
it takes time to clean those up.
It does.
There's a lot of transfers. You're sticking plates underneath the microscope and making sure you got everything out of it.
How many cultures have I brought in this week alone? When I went fishing with Mr. Denise, I brought in 5 wild strains, all polypores.
On one day we had it was almost 20 samples just shipped into us.
Yeah,
it was a lot.
So I got to do that fast. That's
and
not
then I was like,
I
oh no, I've got to make a double batch of plates just to make sure he has enough.
Speaking of, I'm
medium.
out of plates again. I ran out yesterday. I need you to make more. So, I mean, it just gets to be a lot. And then when you add video work on top of it, man, it is a lot. So, I mean, people who run these breeding programs, like there's Kyle. I am probably going to say his last name wrong. Obenberger. Obenberger.
Makes sense to me.
He used to run full
Help us
canopy.
out.
Yeah.
Call and give us the
he
correct
used to run full
pronunciation.
canopy. I cannot. Ikigai. IKIGAI Labs is what he runs now. But like the amount of phenotypes he's produced alone, and then I'm seeing other people produce, and then I'm seeing you guys swap strains and then start adding new it's incredible. You guys are truly doing what I set out to do years ago, which was prove that fungus could have as many different phenotypes and types as tomatoes.
Yeah.
And you guys have taken one single species and drilled down on that. The cube breeders have, in a way that I have not seen with the gourmet stuff. Though I'm starting to see some of the cube guys come over to the gourmet side.
And that's what I was about to say is, can you imagine just how many textures and flavor profiles and just...
Well, we're already seeing that with the wild stuff, with the old road being a super soft mushroom strain versus House Mountain being a really firm stemmy, Yeah, so I mean...
Yep.
Absolutely into it. Okay. My bad. I've lit the chat. Can I go on? Boop-a-doop-a-doo. Just saw your pic on Instagram of your golden mushrooms. What's your secret to getting such a beautiful bouquet in your oyster grows? So part of that is the cut that we make. We make a kind of a U-shaped cut, and we do it like this. We do the shaka, right? And then you just cut that length and create a little flap. That helps a lot. A lot of it's genetics. Not every gold oyster strain will produce like that. And then a big part of it is the formulation of the nutrition of your substrate. So I mean, there are right now the golds that I just posted on Instagram, I think were from they were donated to us from Akron, Ohio, during the golden oyster season, and that one just happens to fruit really, really well. The only other strain I've seen fruit that big a bouquet is the Lambert's 124. 126, whatever their golden oyster strain is, and the Akron ended up being, I feel like, a little bit not as good on the coloration, but better textured. I do like this format better, but your videos have served as classroom and motivation for a lot of people. I think the world would still be on rye berries. I appreciate that, Brian. I don't know that I've had that big of an influence. Maybe I have. I appreciate that. I mean, I do. I really, really, really do. I don't know. There's a lot of great channels out there, and I think a lot of people. I mean, gosh, you've got like, T.R. Davis, Eric Myers. You got Mike O'Geeky now. Oh my gosh, there's Mike Crow came out and did a bunch of stuff. So there's a lot of stuff. Oh, you're gonna show the cut? Show the cut.
Looks like these.
There you go. What kind of block is that? That looks like a gold, doesn't it? That mycelium's thin.
It's gold.
It's gold. Which one is that? Akron?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the Akron gold. I planted that yesterday.
You can see the pin sets. You can smell it too.
Yeah, you can smell that gold.
And it's trying to pin through the...
Oh, gosh, yeah. That was a big old lump. Oh, my goodness, yeah. So, but part of that's genetics, and then I think the formulation. But also, you got to get your fresh air right, the humidity correct. I think a big part of such of our large flushes, I gained almost a 20% increase in yield when I switched over to House of Hydro instead of the pressure misting systems. Now, I don't use the high pressure misting system that Joe Iovino does of Cactus Hat. Joe's the first time I've ever been in a room. I've been in T.R. Davis's old room. I've not been in his one he's got currently. And even those were drippy, drip, drip. Like you were walking around, there was some splish splash at your feet. Those nozzles, when they turned on, it was just the fog was heavy. It was not as light and airy as like what Cactus Hat has. I think Cactus has using the same system. He's just got it tuned differently. And TR may have it tuned differently now. I don't know. It's been, I think 2019 was when I was at his place, when we went out there and, shot tannerite and skeet and all that kind of stuff. So I sure wish I had turned my phone on Do Not Disturb. But I forgot because I am unprofessional. So, let's see. Editing takes up so much time. It does, man. It really does. This is why I like the documenting format. If I can go in, I mean, I can still edit, but I can edit like a 3-minute segment and then show it to you guys, and that becomes something much better, I feel like. So, you have been a positive and awesome influence in my ecology community. Well, thank you, Herbie. I appreciate that. Clamps or not? Oh, okay, you guys are talking. What's up, Lionsman Grower from Brazil? I've learned a lot from your channel. Much love and God bless you. Well, thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. I've always wanted to go to Brazil. Because, in part of this is through TR. He married a Brazilian, and I think her family was into mushrooms down there. But there's apparently some sort of, that's getting a little dried out. I told you I need to reset the water, but look out, like, we're missing just the little top cluster here.
Well, and that was the reason why I chose this one, is because if you don't open the flap all the way and relieve that tension, then you'll end up
with a U-shaped cluster.
Yeah, but it's almost like this first flush, second flush phenomenon, where the first flush will be on the cut line, the second flush will, and that cut line through the fruiting will open that flap, and then the second flush will almost be like a first flush. I've seen increased yields that way.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And that was a King Blue cluster. That's going to be a good 2.5 pound cluster, I'd say, right there. But yeah, as far as I know about Brazil, there's apparently a mushroom renaissance happening. Maybe there always was. I am continually surprised. I really thought when I was getting into the marketplace that I was going to be selling a lot to Asian cuisine, right? Like that's where the mushrooms are grown a lot, the ones I'm familiar with, especially the wood-loving types. And I really thought I was going to be selling to, like, Japanese restaurants. And I do have some. I've got a couple of Japanese restaurants and that kind of thing. But a lot of them want cheaper mushrooms. They want shiitake. They don't care if the shiitake is so soft that you can stick your finger through it. And then all of a sudden I started, like, we've got a large Mexican community in Morristown, Tennessee, right? That's the town over from me. And you put hongos, #hongos and stuff, and all of a sudden, like, we get a lot more Mexican cuisine, and then even further south of the border. And I was even talking to a Mexican friend of mine. I was like, I did not realize you guys liked mushrooms so much. And he's like, are you kidding me? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he was like, you realize that's where psilocybin culture came from in the first place, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, you're right. Maria Sabina in Mexico. Gordon, was it R.R. Wasson, I think, went down there? So I was like, okay. And then you've got those mushroom stones, the mushroom totem stones in South America.
I think those look really neat.
Were they the Mayan mushroom stones? I think that's what they're called, or something. I don't know if it was the Mayans or who, but apparently there's just a big thing going on. And apparently Brazil is a huge center for growing just hundreds of thousands of pounds of mushrooms constantly. So, man, I would love to get down to Brazil one day and tour some mushroom farms. That would be so cool to see that happening in real time. Thank you, Shepard. I appreciate that. I'm glad to be back. Like I was explaining, the video work was proven to be too much with all the work. So I think this format's really just going to be our best format. And I haven't had a lot of sub-video segments to show you guys this time, just because I wanted to be able to talk for most of the time. But going forward, we'll start going back to having our video format, where I've got some short videos, some topical stuff we'll go over. We were talking earlier in the cast to talk about nutrition, like different types of supplements, different types of carbon sources, how to go about formulating a mushroom block, that kind of thing. So there's one already that we're going to work on, but it's probably going to be a month to 6 weeks out, because there's an experiment I want to run and document and then place on there. So, and
that's our thing. That's what we're known for. is experimenting, having the results, showing the results, and then, yeah, experiencing the results.
Oh man, I cannot pop my neck. I almost named my mushroom farm Ikigai. Ikigai. Is it Ikigai? Oh my gosh, my Japanese is terrible. Ikigai. Ikigai. I decided for Kodama mushrooms. Oh, Kodama, like the little Kodamas from Miyazaki's
Princess Mononoke.
Princess Mononoke. Thank you. Where they shake their head. Oh my gosh, I was just doing that. Rattle. I 3D printed a bunch of Kodamas. Oh my god, I'm going to have to do that again. You can buy some white resin and resin print a bunch of... Oh my gosh, I wonder if I could do giant Kodamas.
I've always loved those little characters, especially like on the show where they're giving each other piggyback rides.
Oh yeah, where they're walking and one of them's
the cutest thing.
Oh,
ever.
because is it because he's carrying her or she's carrying him, and they are imitating?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Miyazaki's the coolest. Anyways, we like to play around with what Mother Nature created. Yeah, absolutely. There was a good quote I heard. It was by Robert RFK Jr., where he was just talking about how, if you look at all the different theologies, the inspired person always goes out to the wilderness for the divine interaction. If you look at Christianity, Jesus goes out into the desert for 40 days. Muhammad leaves the city because he's a city boy, goes out into the wilderness. Buddha wanders the wilderness for years and years and years or something like that, and then sits under the tree. It just happens over and over again. And so, I mean, like, playing with what nature created, that's our mission here, at least. Like, no matter what viewpoint I look at it from, interacting with nature is an interaction with the divine. And I always told Mom, I don't really feel God at church. I feel God out in the wilderness, out in the woods, on the lake. I don't know. I've always liked that. When I find these mushrooms out in the wild and I see them grow in a plate, I can almost get lost in the little galaxy they create. That's that big. That kind of thing.
The little intricacies and how they interact with one another.
Yep. Like sitting right behind me. Look at each one of those little galaxies. They're about to all interact with each other. Grow into one another.
Well, if you want to go even further, like the network of the roads that we travel to get to the restaurants that we serve, and then, how people travel from there, and...
That's Man of War working, if you guys are hearing the big loud thumping and stuff. That is obviously a pallet jack.
Yep.
Grabbing some stuff. Dad, dude, you've had a huge influence. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate that. Your content was some of the first I watched when starting my myco journey. I appreciate that. Who did you go to after? I just want to know. Maybe I can learn from that person too. I mean, if I can make myself better in some way.
Yep.
Once you matured and you left your mushroom infancy and you left Mama Andrew, where did you go? What was the next thing?
To the pools of the world.
Consider the inspiration. Y'all are great. Absolutely, Rick. Thank you so much. Mako said same here. John Corey says, you are such an inspiration. I am starting a gourmet medicinal mushroom business in Pennsylvania and Delaware. We just received our tents today. Thank you so much for the inspiration. Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. I'm glad that we could be of some inspiration and hopefully of some hope that this is a possibility. I will tell you, there's 101 different ways to make mushrooms or make money growing in the mushroom world, but I think fresh mushrooms is probably the best way. Honestly, it's probably the easiest way, wouldn't you say?
I think diversification is the best way, and I think
so?
each avenue has its own perks and challenges, and I think fresh mushrooms, it's easy per se, but it's a lot of physical work, and particularly dealing with the bioproduct of fresh mushroom production, which is processing your compost.
Oh, you're talking about the waste product, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm the one cutting open those bags.
So there's actually,
So that's like the number one thing on my mind whenever you
Fair enough.
mention.
So actually, this is an interesting thought. I'm planning on buying like really large tubs, and then building the little self-harvesting system into them. In fact, I'm going to see if I can get Ben to start 3D printing with this print farm attachments for it that are specifically made for this. But I want to harvest the black soldier fly larva, because you know how many the black soldier flies go crazy for that mushroom compost.
Yeah.
So what I would like to do is start just putting kitchen scraps, blah, 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 all in there as well. But fill up these totes, you know, make the little entrances for the parents, the self-harvesting system for the larva, and then either along the back of the warehouse or maybe even along the front dock there, just have it to where it's, we've got the liquids collection so they don't drown. And then in the summertime, do black soldier fly larvae. Through the winter time, do red wrigglers and night crawlers. And then have a processing system. Eventually, I'd like to do like a trough style system. But right now, the self-harvesting seems like the easiest way instead of a trough to get the most. And then we can build larger versions later. But I think this would be a good way to rapidly, because those, I mean, you've seen that, how quickly they take that stuff down.
Oh yeah.
So.
Well, and it's been a beautiful thing. So in the front of the warehouse, we've had tubs that have been placed there. We've been slowly over the season dumping spent mushroom blocks into those tubs. Andrew started plantlings in the wintertime. We nurtured
Christmas
those
Day
indoors.
is our pepper day.
Yeah, and then we planted them in the spring into those tubs after that compost had.
And oh my gosh, we've got so many peppers, I can't pick them all.
Yeah, we've been giving them away to customers as they drop in.
We're like, hey, you want to pick some peppers and have some peppers? Like,
Yeah, here's some sweet peppers to go with your mushrooms that you just
the
purchased from us.
shishitos. Oh my gosh, I ate shishitos every night for like 3 weeks, and it was great. I did a little bit of lard in a pan, the shishito peppers, fry them up until they're crispy, and then just eat them. And they were like a little salt. And oh my gosh, they're so amazing. And then you put that alongside the mushrooms. But all of those peppers were grown in pure spent mushroom blocks.
And we've done this
So-
in the past where we've taken just general soil from a general nursery, and then we've planted spent mushroom blocks right next to it, and we've seen the difference between the growth patterns and just how much fruit is being produced, how much vegetation is coming off of the same seedlings, or essentially the same seed packet being planted amongst. And we always, whenever Andrew scatter plants first, and we'll choose first, seconds, and thirds, and we'll rate them, and we'll transplant those, and we'll always keep the first choices. We heavily cull, and so every year we're always keeping the best germination rates. We're always keeping the largest fruits, and we're improving that line through selective breeding. And it's we've seen an enormous difference, and it's been a lot of fun to see.
Absolutely.
And that's something that you could potentially sell too. Just be careful. You have to get a few licensing, or depending on where you're at, just kind of check your state
For
or
the
whatnot.
plants.
Like if you
Yeah.
were to sell the plantlings, you'd have to have a greenhouse license, or at least we do in our state.
I love the way your brain works. Plantlings instead of seedlings.
They're plantlings.
They're plantlings. I love it. Don't stop.
They are plantlings.
They are plantlings, absolutely. Just like our little mushroom blocks are our funglings. I love it.
Plantlings. Definition. A young plant or plantlet.
I said it was correct. You don't really hear it very often. I wasn't making fun of you. I was legitimately appreciating.
It's been here since 1766. Sorry, I get off on tirades.
She does.
Anyway.
This love the neon sign, and I always thought you said keep spawning culture. Well, I it's the southern accent.
That clears some things up, doesn't it?
Keep spawning culture.
I will say there's like the blue here is more along the
I can't hear
original.
you because you're not turning the mic.
I'll say that the blue is along more of the original design, and then it's supposed to curl more into the blue aspect.
Yeah,
But it turns white, so it creates like a sharp cut. I don't know.
There's only so much you can do with the neon.
But this was a gift, so we are
Yeah,
very appreciative.
I said
Thank
that at
you.
the very beginning about how it's from the Fungi's ink.
Yeah, they ordered a sign for themselves, and they were able to get a second one as a part of the package, and so they thought of us, which was very, very kind.
Absolutely. And absolutely, Edward, I'm glad to see you on the stream, man. Thank you for stopping by. Yes, someone said, "Hey, how are you doing, my friend?" There's a bunch of people saying hello, Ed. You've definitely inspired me, and You and Geeky are the main reasons I started doing YouTube. I even got a bag of Hericium going now. Still working on Hericium Cube hybrid. Absolutely. So I actually asked somebody, and thank you for those kind words. I appreciate it. My ADHD almost skipped that part. But I was talking to someone that we all know, who I'm not going to mention right now, but I was like, can I use CRISPR to bring the gene for psilocybin over to oysters? Like, wouldn't that be cool to have a psychedelic oyster? And he's like, yeah, but why would you want to do that when there's already a yeast? And, and you could just brew it. And I'm like, oh, man. Yeah, that makes sense. They do like vanilla extract and all kinds of stuff in yeast. So a Hericium Cube hybrid would be cool, but in fact, I still think it should be done, but I'm just not going to do it because it's illegal in Tennessee. So, fresh from the farm, Fungi was after you. Oh yeah, Gary. I forgot to mention Gary. Like when I was talking about YouTube channels. Gary, yeah, he's a really cool. He's super technical, but he's well versed and well knowledged and very smart guy. Very smart guy.
I could listen to that for ages.
Yeah, I can't. I love him a lot.
Parts.
I think he's a super nice guy. We've talked on the phone a couple of times. He's invited me to do some collabs with him and the crew that he works with, and I need to. I should. I'm too much of a hermit. I need to talk to people. I know. but I'm like, anytime you've ever taken the personality test, I'm right down the middle between extroverted and introverted. I either fall on one side or the other just barely.
He goes through phases.
I do. I go through like where I'm extroverted for a while and then I'm introverted for a while. And when I'm introverted, everything that deals with people exhausts me. And then when I'm extroverted, everything that deals with people, it excites me and inspires me. So the problem is that I wobble between the two, and it's kind of a weak position because I'm not strongly,
one way or the other.
Right, yeah.
I think it's a more diverse position.
Sure, for sure. That said,
You fooled everybody for so many years because
everyone thinks I'm super extroverted.
You have consecutive videos where you were excited and ramped up. And then no one ever saw like the kind of laid back,
Well, what's funny is I'm actually more excitable in my introverted state. Like I'll dance in the lab and stuff. Samantha has literally come in there and I'm like playing some gangster rap and twerking or something, I'm just so excited.
That's true.
But I will never film that. So that's my introverted shit. You're in trouble.
Surely not.
Well, I can't keep you in trouble. But yeah, Gary's a great one. And Mike Crow, though he's switched over to I think his old channel back again, which is Mike Crow Mycology or something, because the Southwest Mushrooms is owned by somebody else or something. I don't know, but Mike's super knowledgeable. There's a lot of really, like, in fact, I really wondered if there was a place for me for a little while because there's so many good mycology channels out there. Like on YouTube, I really wonder if there is another subject that has as many channels devoted to it as mycology. Probably. I just don't run in those circles, but I don't see them. Like, are there that many plant channels?
Oh, there's tons.
Are there that many fish channels?
Yeah, like
you think so?
You've got plants, and you've got freshwater plants, and you have different ecosystems, and then temperature
I
variances,
get that,
and then you have and then the fish. You've got saltwater, and then you've got freshwater. It's kind of the same thing, and then and then you have tiers of expense, right? And like and then personal preferences, and then do you do a black and white tank or a black water tank or a blah 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 tank?
Blah blah blah. Brackish maybe.
Yeah, that.
Maybe.
Or do you grow like with mushrooms? Do you grow on shelves or do you grow on the long racks or those? Oh man.
Well, okay, let's take microgreens. Are there as many microgreen channels? I don't think there are. But of course, mycology is more than just an agricultural. I was just saying that I wondered if there was a place for it. That's all. I obviously I think there is. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing the show. I was just saying that there was a time when I was like, man, there's so many good channels, and they're good channels, like better than mine, in my opinion.
Stop it with your imposter syndrome. Smacking.
Fair enough. Okay. Woodworking. So woodworking's got some great.
I think there's a place for
oh my
anyone
gosh.
who's excited to
Guys,
talk and share.
spalting excites me so much. Don't get me started on another project, Michael Allen. I'm trying to simplify. I just put all my spalting strains in cold storage. Okay.
You still have some in liquid
So it
filter.
looks like Man of War is going to be moving out to the warehouse right next door, which means that I'll get the full warehouse here. When I do that, I'm planning on doing a spalting farm.
in the basement.
Well, just on I was going to do it on the wooden side there. I was just going to build shelves and start spalting experiments in mass. Because I think there's really...
Please don't spalt the floor.
I'm not going to spalt the floor. I really think there's some money to be made in spalting,
I don't
y'all.
believe you.
Big time. I'm not going to spalt the floor. I might spalt it in certain places. On purpose. Alright, that said. We've got 15 minutes before I want to close this out.
Okay.
And we might close it out before then, but... So you have 15 minutes. Any questions you want asked, hit me with as many questions as you want, as whatever you want. No, there is no stupid question, only people. No stupid questions. I'm sorry, I'm feeling really playful today. When I get playful, I get pokey.
He gets mean.
I do get mean. And my daughter is just like me. Oh my gosh. I just found that out the other day. I thought my boys would be like me. My boys are like their mother. And my daughter is just like me. And now I see why I infuriate people so much. I love that girl so much. All right. You guys can do as many questions as you want really quick. We got 15 minutes. Samantha, is there anything you want to talk about in the meantime while people potentially build up questions? If there are no questions to be had, we'll just talk and then close out. But you got anything you want to talk about? Any updates? Has there been anything on your mind lately?
I have missed so much. What if I repeat an update?
Repeat an update. I'll tell you if I went over it or not.
Oh, yeah?
Why wouldn't I?
I gotta think.
Oh my goodness. The worst thing on a show is silence.
Is it, though?
I mean,
You need
I
a
don't
cricket
know.
button.
Oh, we totally do. I have the MIDI player right over there. I could totally program sounds for it. Oh my goodness, this opens up a whole new thing.
I will say that I enjoy your videos. I've gone back and rewatched them and I would listen to them oftentimes on deliveries because Andrew would be home, I would be doing deliveries, and so that's one of the reasons why it was so quiet and I was never in any of the older videos. And I like the live versions. We're a hot mess right now, forgive us, but I think that potentially too, if we can get it down to one camera, you and I are side by side like this, we can kind of plop ourselves in various points in the farm and you guys can actually see what's happening live and kind of in the moment, and I feel like it's more authentic and I really enjoy that. Is there a question?
No, finish what you're saying. We'll focus.
Okay. And I enjoy watching those older videos, but there's something different about taking you into the grow room and letting you see the crop in the moment.
Yeah, I'm actually I was looking at it. I can do HDMI transmitters for the cameras.
I'd have them
So I can put them in. They are powerful enough to reach anywhere in the warehouse. They're about $300 a pop. But if we buy one or two, we don't need more than one or two. Then we can literally put we can have a grow room cam. I mean, how cool would that be? Like, here's the grow room, right now, in this moment.
Is there a way we can?
The only problem is that we do deliveries on Tuesdays, and Wednesday is the day of the show, so it would always be after we've picked everything.
Well, and that's the other thing too. Like it is nice for Andrew to go in, get B-roll and everything else that he needs in the prime of the moment, and then edit that in a few days later. Yeah, we've got some explaining to do.
Well, the cool thing is that the live show allows us to have the best of both worlds. We can still create, and we can still document. And I don't know, I like it. I like this format better. This format's more comfortable for me.
Well, and I follow a lot of people and watch a lot of live streams and podcasts where...
Well, plus, this one is easy to run through the AI and create a lot of shorts. And for some reason, shorts are what get all of the views and the click-throughs. I make most of my money off my website.
But not shorts, right?
Off the shorts. Well, what do you mean? They're about a minute long, so they're pretty short. All right, you're making a clothing joke. Okay. I'm sorry, that went right over my head. Have you ever considered adding a geothermal system for your fruiting rooms? Yes. And if I had land that I owned that I could manipulate, I would do that. I absolutely would do it. I still think that the amount of air that's going to be flowing through it, you'd have to have really long pipes to keep it stable. I think the most important addition for most mushroom farms is going to be an HRV. And I know that there happens to be one prototyping right now, perhaps, maybe. I mean, just maybe. A modular, cheaper HRV that's mass-produced. That might save you thousands of dollars a year, maybe. Just perhaps. But I think that might be the better way to go. Though I think the geothermal is great, but the geothermal for most people, like if I'm renting a space, if I don't have the land to do it, if I'm doing it in my house, geothermal is a hard way to go. Eric Myers did geothermal somewhere. Is that at his new place? You guys are going to have to check that out. You'd have to check that out, but you might look up Eric Myers geothermal. Eric is, as we all know, a great merchant and has a really good engineering mind. So if anybody was to do the calculations required for geothermal, it'd either be him or Gary. Though I think Gary is much more technical on the biological side than the machine side. But my thought really is that if you could do geothermal, I would do it, even if it didn't get my grow room at a stable temperature. But if it instead had... That was my phone. That if it instead had a 20-degree buffer. If you could buffer your grow room by 20 degrees...
Yeah, our grow room is like, 78 right now?
It's pretty hot. We actually, after this, you and I need to go do some work on the grow room. We need to clean the humidifier because it's starting to put a little bit less humidity. And we need to install that fourth air conditioning unit right there.
Replace the discs.
I might eat first.
It's probably been like a year.
You brought me food and I forgot to eat. So, anyways, that's probably the best I can give you on geothermal. Rick Schindler. Bad Tentacles. This was so wonderful seeing you two back at it again. If the grow room had a persona, what might it be? I don't know.
The Tasmanian devil. It's a whirlwind.
Is that what that question means?
In and out. I don't know.
I would call it, what emperor or army or general was it that talked about to feed the beast with 1,000 mouths or something like that? Like, that's the way the grow room feels. You have to feed it constantly. It's a constant, consistent, persistent worry.
You can tell I grew up on Looney Tunes.
I mean, I did too. Marvin the Martian was always I loved Marvin the Martian.
I like that. I like your perspective though on that, and I think that's pretty.
Well, I mean, if that's how you're paying your bills and that's how you're making money, that's got to be the consistent concern. How do I get carbon and nitrogen and inoculant all in the right mix, in the right ratio, in the right environment? How do I keep that stable all year? How do I pump out my crop in a consistent manner? How do I get chefs who are weekly, we just got our first butcher shop, by the way. That's kind of cool. Secret City Butcher Shop in Knoxville has now started buying Hericium and oysters from us.
Oak Ridge.
Oak Ridge. It's in Oak Ridge. That's just
Significantly longer.
that's
drive.
just west, nicer
Not
Knoxville.
Significantly.
It's like it's like the nicest part of Knoxville. It's just a different city and not the metro. But anyways,
Oak Ridge is an amazing maze, by the way. It is rather fun, and
it's a beautiful
there's,
place.
There's roads like Centrifuge Way and Laboratory Street.
Laboratory Street, Centrifuge Way, Beaker Avenue.
I've just
Oak Ridge is
my first delivery. I giggled the entire time.
You have it's the Y-12 Oak Ridge National Laboratory. It's where the atomic bomb was built. But they do what is it? They replace something like 12 nuclear warheads a week up there, and then they also have other laboratories with a lot of different science going on there. So everything from data science to that kind of stuff. So. Hi from Cali. Have you considered propagating plants in your incubation area? I found that my wasabi plants grew faster and were generally healthier. I assume it was due to the elevated CO2 levels. Yes, I have thought about that. In fact, I've worked with microgreen operations and other weed farms and things like that, doing consulting where they wanted to bring the air from their grow room into their plant rooms, to which I have trialed, and the spores are just too much. They overload your plants, kill everything off. The best thing to do is to use the air from your incubation. One of the things I've considered doing was growing aquatic plants downstream, and then having basically, let's say, an air pump right in my vent area where I'm taking the CO2 laden air out, and then injecting that CO2 laden air. I used to do this with like fermenting, right? Like I'd make hard cider, right? You do hard cider, and instead of doing an airlock, I would move the tube to a fish tank, and then just have it bubble in the fish tank, and all that CO2 would cause your plants to go crazy.
Would it hurt the fish?
No.
Okay.
No, you can't just overload it, but like a single, it's the CO2 is only being raised so much as it's going to be, and it will acidify the water somewhat, but most of the time, no. Like if you had like wood in the tank and stuff like that, your algae and stuff would buffer it pretty hard. In fact,
but it
camera
needs
2, so spotlight Samantha. You can see behind that mushroom there to Samantha, over her shoulder, there's a green tank. Other side, there you go. Everything's reversed. Yeah.
Oh. Ooh.
Yeah. So that is like an 80-gallon tank I have. I've got some 55s over here. I've got another 80-gallon tank out there. Samantha knows that I come from the aquaculture industry. I miss it constantly. She's been really trying to get me to set up in this room some fish tanks. I probably will set up some tanks, but I'm actually just going to take incubation air and then inject it into the tanks, and I'm going to try to grow hair algae and things like that. And then I'm probably just going to grow shrimp. I might grow some little fishies just to keep the mosquito larvae from, because this room where it's insulated will absolutely have mosquitoes in it. You remember, like, we had a mosquito outbreak in here one time because I didn't have I didn't have fish to the tank, just plants. So I was
another period of my absence.
Sitting there trying to play video games and you're getting bit constantly.
Oh, gracious.
So I have considered that, and I think it's a great way to go. You can do it with brewing. You can do it like we're doing a fermentation. That's all we're doing, right? So if you're doing a yeast fermentation, great. If you're doing a solid state fermentation, great. I think that the CO2 is a missed opportunity for plant growth, and if you can take that and then just inject it, like all I have to do is put the pump outside of this room, so that we don't have to hear it, and then put it up there. In fact, I might build a box for my air to go through. So before it hits the HRV, after the HRV, because the pump will put off heat. Whatever. Technical details don't matter. I'll put it in the way. It'll grab the CO2, inject some of it back over here into the plants. The plants will have covers on them, but they'll be able to put oxygen back in it, and then release that. And then hopefully, like in my studio space, I'll have some pretty shrimpy little, tanks. And then the CO2 cycle will help that. So, does geothermal require a lot of digging, or do you have a different type in mind? No, I mean the one I'm thinking of would require a lot of digging. You would need to dig down deep and big. You would need to lay in some sort of tube, so either concrete. What I would probably do is a concrete and then a misting system, just kind of like a sewer system, basically. And then have it, as it gets in, I would just pull air from one side of that long tube up from underground. And then the whole idea is that the moist tunnel would cool that air pretty rapidly as it entered. The moisture would be more effective if we lived in a drier region, but we do have time here where it's dry enough that it will, like through the August, when it's really the hottest and we have the least rain, that's really when we would want that moisture cooling. We've even thought about putting swamp coolers just in our walls here. We haven't done it yet. Never did try it. People say that they won't work around here. They will work. They just work at a much less efficiency. So.
And the angel hair algae, we use it as mulch around, which is the reason why he would be growing that.
I mean the hair algae, yeah.
Oh,
well,
sorry.
that would be for the shrimp to eat first, but the second thing would be we would use the shrimp tanks to overwinter, like our water hyacinth and our tropical water plants that we put outside into our water tubs. But the the hair algae, we absolutely, she's absolutely right that I've literally just pulled that out in big mats before, because if you don't have any snails, the algae's not getting eaten. So you pull it up in big mats. I don't care if there's some shrimp in it and whatnot. And then I use that in our 5-gallon buckets with the peppers, like around the roots. That stuff slowly rots, and then adds nutrition, but it also acts as a mulch. And the aquatic systems produce. I mean, I use water hyacinth as a mulch. I use duckweed as a mulch. Any of these aquatic plants, bulrushes, things like that, I just pull out as they grow and they crowd everything out. Just pull that out and use it as a mulch, and it works really well in conjunction. One thing I'd like to try, I'm thinking about trying on this winter, is a biodigester, and putting that in a greenhouse, and then using a lot of the mushroom waste, which solid state fermentation, oyster mushrooms reduce lignin by about 40 to 50% within a 4-week time period. I think it's 3 weeks or 4 weeks, or even if it's 6 weeks, that's your time that you have grown out multiple flushes of mushrooms. Now your sawdust in your soy or your sawdust in your oat hulls are reduced in lignin, which makes it more bioavailable for your biodigester. So I'd like to try producing methane gas that we can then use to heat our sterilizers, or even a pasteurizer. Or even to provide heat, gas heat here in the grow rooms and incubation off the waste of the farm. So there's some different ways that we're going to look at that.
And we've purchased equipment before that was promptly ruined.
One of my employees popped my biodigester like the day before it was getting hooked up to gas. So
we do know that you can build it up very, very quickly, but we never got to the point of actually hooking up the gas stoves. So
absolutely.
But
it was starting to produce gas
again. One day.
Well, we'll get it, and that'll be it. So it is now 5:31. Y'all, I really appreciate this. Thank you so much for making this such a pleasant experience, and I had a lot of fun coming back. Next week we'll have a lot of cool things, including a different discount code. Don't forget our discount code that we've already put in here. I want to see you guys using it. Save yourself some money and order some cultures. We are also about to try putting the new website up. We are going to have everything available in slants.
Which I was supposed to do in January, but had a absolute solid meltdown because I wanted to make sure everything was perfect and I didn't want anything to break. And then they
It's
had a
true.
huge update, and I was like, everything that I just did is now null and void. So now I need
It's
to update
true.
all of it, which broke some other things, and I had to fix that. So
Point being, we're hoping to have a simplified website very soon. I'm going to start writing in the blog for you guys, but that'll be more of a passion project. So, and we'll be doing this every week. With a time and day may change for the first little bit until we really get this figured out and see when is the best time. I'm not entirely sure when the best time is. We're back to doing Thursday deliveries. Thursday seemed like it was a good day for the show, but I'm thinking now Monday might be a better time. So it'll either be Mondays and Wednesdays, but we'll get back to you guys. We'll make the announcements through Instagram, Twitter, or X, and through YouTube in the future. Really appreciate you guys joining us. I don't really have anything else. Do you, Samantha?
no, sir.
All right. I guess with that, y'all, keep spawning
Keep spawning
culture.
culture.